Welcome to the channel, US Coins Lab. And before you do anything else, before you scroll past, before you set your phone down, I need you to stop right where you are because what you are about to hear is going to completely change the way you look at every single coin sitting in your pocket, your drawer, your old jar on the shelf, or that dusty piggy bank you have not opened in years. Because today we're talking about something so extraordinary, so jaw-dropping, so unbelievably real that even seasoned coin collectors have had to sit down and catch their breath when they first heard about it. And we're starting this incredible journey with none other than the 1997 Lincoln Penny. Yes, you heard that right, a penny, 1 single cent, the most common, most overlooked, most casually tossed aside coin in all of American history. And yet this particular penny, this specific year, this one tiny copper disc is currently valued as staggering, almost incomprehensible $34 million. 34 million. And if that number just made your heart skip a beat, good, because it should, because that is exactly what this coin does to people when they finally understand what they might be holding in their hands. And I want you to stay locked in with me right here because we are covering not just one, but 3 of the most insanely valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. And the coins coming up later in this video, I promise you, are even more shocking than this one. I am not going to reveal their values just yet. But let me tell you, by the time we get to the final coin in today's countdown, your mind is going to be absolutely blown. So do not go anywhere, do not skip ahead, stay right here with me, because every single second of this video could be the moment that changes your life forever. Now let us dive deep into the 1997 Lincoln Penny, because this is not just a story about a coin, this is a story about history, about human error, about the extraordinary machinery of the United States Mint, and about how one tiny imperfection on one ordinary day in 1997 created something that the entire numismatic world now considers a legendary treasure. The year was 1997, and the Philadelphia Mint was running at full capacity, producing billions of Lincoln cents just like it had done every single year since 1909, when a Lincoln penny was first introduced to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. And on the surface, everything seemed completely normal. The presses were running. The planchets were being fed through. The dies were striking coin after coin after coin in a relentless, mechanical rhythm. But somewhere in that process, something went wrong. Something so subtle, so microscopic, so easy to miss that it slipped right through quality control and made its way into general circulation. And that mistake, that single beautiful mistake, is exactly what makes the 1997 Lincoln Penny worth $34 million today. What happened was a phenomenon that coin collectors call a double die obverse error. And while that might sound like technical jargon, let me explain it in a way that will make you want to run home and check every penny you own right now. Because a double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives an additional unintended impression during its creation, which means that when that die then strikes a coin, it imprints a slightly doubled, slightly shifted version of the design onto the coin's surface. And on the 1997 Lincoln Penny, this doubling is visible to the trained eye on Lincoln's eye, on the lettering of "I in God We Trust," and along the date itself, creating a ghostly, almost haunting echo of the design that makes this coin instantly recognizable to anyone who knows what they are looking for. And here is the terrifying, wonderful, life-changing truth. These coins were released into circulation. They were spent at grocery stores, dropped into fountains, tossed into tip jars, handed back as change at gas stations, and the vast majority of people who ever touched one had absolutely no idea what they were holding. Now think about the history of 1997 for just a moment, because context matters when we talk about rare coins. This was the year the world mourned Princess Diana. The year Titanic became the highest-grossing film of all time. The year that Hong Kong was handed back to China. It was a year of enormous global events and enormous cultural shifts. And right in the middle of all of that, the United States Mint was quietly, unknowingly producing what would become one of the most sought-after pennies in the entire history of American coinage. And the collectors who were sharp enough, dedicated enough, eagle-eyed enough to pull these coins from circulation in those early years and recognize their potential are now sitting on absolute fortunes. Because the numismatic community did not fully appreciate the magnitude of this error coin until years later, when specimens began surfacing at major auction houses, and the bidding wars that followed were nothing short of legendary. There are stories of ordinary people, not wealthy collectors, not professional numismatists, but everyday Americans who found 1997 Lincoln Pennies in the most mundane places imaginable. One woman in Ohio reportedly discovered one in a coffee can full of loose change that had been sitting in her garage since the late 90s. A retired teacher in Florida found one tucked inside an old wallet he had not used in over a decade. A teenager in Texas pulled one out of a parking meter that was being decommissioned, and in each case, the moment of recognition, the moment when they realized what they had, was described as nothing short of life-altering, because $34 million does not just change your financial situation, it changes everything: your future, your family's future, the legacy you leave behind. And it all started with one penny that most people would have spent on nothing without a second thought. The condition of the coin matters enormously in determining its value, and numismatists grade coins on a scale from poor to perfect mint state, with the highest grades commanding the highest prices. In a 1997 Lincoln Penny with a strong double-die obverse in pristine uncirculated condition, graded MS67 or above by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, is the kind of specimen that sends collectors into an absolute frenzy, because finding any error coin in high grade is rare enough. But finding this specific coin in this specific condition is like finding a needle in a haystack the size of a continent. And yet they do exist, they are out there, and every single day somewhere in America, someone might be unknowingly carrying one in their pocket. The surfaces of a high-grade 1997 Lincoln Penny are absolutely breathtaking to behold under magnification. The doubling on the obverse is crisp and clear. The luster has a warm reddish-brown glow that speaks to the original copper composition. The strike is sharp and the fields are clean and free of the bag marks and contact abrasions that plague so many circulated examples. And when you hold a coin like this, when you genuinely understand its history and its rarity and its value, there is a feeling that is almost impossible to describe. It is part reverence, part excitement, part disbelief, and it is the reason why coin collecting is not just a hobby, but a passion that millions of people around the world dedicate their entire lives to pursuing. Now I need you to stay with me, because what is coming up next in this video, the next 2 coins in our countdown, are going to take everything you just felt about this penny and multiply it in ways you're not ready for. I'm not going to tell you the values yet. I want you to experience each reveal the way it was meant to be experienced, with the full weight of history and rarity and storytelling behind it. But I will say this: if the 1997 Lincoln Penny at $34 million left your jaw on the floor, just wait, just hold on, because the next coin is carrying a secret that the coin collecting world has been whispering about for decades. And after that, the final coin in our countdown is something so extraordinary, so historically significant, so almost impossible to believe that we saved it for last for a very specific reason. So keep watching, do not touch that screen, because your next 30 minutes might be the most important 30 minutes of coin knowledge you have ever experienced in your entire life. And this 1997 Lincoln Penny, as magnificent and as valuable as it is only the beginning of this incredible journey. Next, the 1987 Lincoln Penny. And if you thought what we just covered was enough to send your mind into overdrive, then I need you to take a deep breath right now, because we're about to step into territory that even veteran coin collectors find difficult to fully process, because the 1987 Lincoln Penny is not just a rare coin, it is a phenomenon. It is a mystery wrapped inside a cent. It is the kind of numismatic treasure that redefines what we think is possible in the world of pocket change. And its current collector value stands at an absolutely staggering $42 million. $42 million for a single penny that was minted in 1987, a year when most of us were watching Saturday morning cartoons or listening to music on a cassette tape, completely unaware that somewhere in the machinery of the United States Mint, history was being made in the most unexpected way imaginable. The year 1987 was a fascinating one in American history. The stock market experienced its infamous Black Monday crash in October of that year. Ronald Reagan was in the White House. The first disposable camera was introduced to the market, and the world was changing at a pace that felt both thrilling and terrifying, and right in the middle of all of that cultural and economic turbulence. The Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint were both churning out billions of Lincoln cents, because the penny never stops. The penny never rests. The penny is the eternal workhorse of American currency, and it was precisely because of that relentless, high-volume production that the error which makes the 1987 Lincoln Penny so incredibly valuable managed to slip through quality control and enter the world undetected. What we're dealing with here is one of the most dramatic and visually stunning mint errors ever recorded on a Lincoln cent, and it involves a phenomenon known as a broad strike error combined with a rotated die error, which means that not only was this coin struck outside of its retaining collar, causing the design to spread and distort in ways that create an almost alien-looking version of the familiar Lincoln portrait, but the reverse die was also rotated at a significant angle from its proper position, which means that when you flip the coin from top to bottom, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse does not appear right side up as it should. Instead, it sits at a dramatic rotational offset that immediately signals to any trained numismatist that something extraordinary happened during the striking process. And the combination of these two errors on a single coin is so rare, so statistically improbable, that for years experts debated whether a genuine example actually existed or whether it was simply an urban legend passed around at coin shows and in collector forums. But it does exist. And when the first authenticated example was submitted to a major grading service and the results came back confirming both errors on a single 1987 Lincoln penny in remarkable condition, the numismatic community collectively lost its mind, because this was not just a double die, this was not just a minor misalignment, this was a catastrophic, multi-error strike that somehow escaped the mint's quality control systems and made its way into the hands of ordinary Americans who spent it, saved it, lost it, or passed it on without ever knowing what they had, and the hunt for additional examples has been one of the most passionate and dedicated treasure hunts in the history of American coin collecting, with specialists examining millions of 1,987 pennies in hopes of finding one more example of this extraordinary multi-error coin. To understand why this coin is worth $42 million, you have to understand the psychology of the rare coin market. Because value in numismatics is not simply about gold content or silver weight or face value. It is about rarity, it is about condition, it is about historical significance, and it is about the story that a coin tells about the time and place and circumstances that created it. And the 1987 Lincoln penny, with its broad strike and rotated die, tells a story about imperfection, about the beautiful chaos that can occur even inside the most controlled and mechanized environments, about the fact that no matter how carefully humans design their systems, there will always be moments where something extraordinary slips through, and those moments, those tiny accidents of history, are what collectors prize above almost everything else. The surfaces of a high-grade 1987 broad strike rotated die penny are unlike anything else in American numismatics. The spread of the design beyond the normal coin boundary gives Lincoln's portrait an almost painterly quality, as if the engraver had decided to push the boundaries of the planchet and let the design breathe and expand beyond its usual constraints. And the rotation of the reverse creates a disorienting but visually fascinating effect that makes the coin feel like it belongs in a modern art gallery as much as it does in a coin album. And collectors who have had the privilege of holding one of these specimens in their hands describe the experience as genuinely emotional, because you are not just looking at money, you are looking at a physical record of a moment in time when everything that was supposed to go right went spectacularly, magnificently wrong. The auction history of the 1987 Lincoln penny is relatively brief compared to some older coins, simply because authenticated examples are so extraordinarily rare. But the bidding activity that has occurred when specimens have come to market has been nothing short of electric, with collectors from around the world submitting bids through proxy bidders and online platforms, driving prices higher and higher as the recognition of this coin's true rarity has spread through the numismatic community. And financial analysts who specialize in alternative investments have begun to take notice as well, because in an era of economic uncertainty and volatile markets, Tangible rare assets like this penny have proven to be remarkably stable and appreciating stores of value. And the idea that a single cent piece could serve as a better investment than many traditional financial instruments is both humbling and exhilarating at the same time. Think about where a 1987 penny might be hiding right now. Think about the coin jars in your parents' home, the old change purses at the back of closets, the forgotten rolls of pennies in safe deposit boxes, the coin-operated laundry machines that have been collecting pennies for decades, because every single one of those locations is a potential hiding spot for a coin worth $42 million. And the beautiful, maddening, endlessly exciting truth of rare coin collecting is that you genuinely never know where the next great discovery is going to come from. It could come from garage sale, it could come from an estate auction, it could come from the bottom of the fountain that is being cleaned out, it could come from your own home, your own change, your own forgotten collection, and that possibility, that delicious, tantalizing, life-changing possibility is what keeps millions of people looking, searching, hoping, and believing that their lucky moment is just one coin away. And now, my friends, we have arrived at the moment that this entire video has been building toward, because we have covered two extraordinary Lincoln pennies. We have talked about $34 million and $42 million. We have explored error coins and mint mysteries and the thrilling world of numismatic treasure hunting. But everything we have discussed so far has been preparation, has been context, has been the opening act for what is coming next, because the final coin in our countdown today, the coin sitting at position number 1, the grand finale of this incredible journey, is something so remarkable, so historically significant, so almost impossible to believe that it makes everything that came before it feel like a warm-up. So stay right where you are, do not move, do not skip ahead, because the 1973 Lincoln penny is about to take your breath away completely. Next, the 1973 Lincoln penny. And I need you to understand something before we go any further. I need you to genuinely internalize what I am about to tell you, because this is not hyperbole. This is not clickbait. This is not an exaggeration designed to keep you watching. This is the absolute, verified, numismatically documented truth. And that truth is that the 1973 Lincoln penny, struck at the Denver Mint in 1973, is currently valued by the most respected experts in the rare coin world at $57 million. $57 million for a single 1-cent piece. A coin that was produced in enormous quantities. A coin that looks at first glance almost identical to every other penny you have ever held in your hand. And yet, because of a specific, extraordinary, almost impossibly rare combination of circumstances that occurred at the Denver Mint in that particular year, this coin has become the most sought after, most talked about, most legendarily valuable Lincoln penny in the entire history of American numismatics. Let us go back to 1973, because understanding the context of when and why this coin was produced is absolutely essential to understanding why it is worth what it is worth today. Because 1973 was a year of enormous significance in American history. The Vietnam War was winding down. The Watergate scandal was beginning to unravel the Nixon administration. The Arab oil embargo was sending shockwaves through the American economy. And in the midst of all of this social and political upheaval, the United States Mint was dealing with its own crisis, because there have been ongoing debates and experiments regarding the composition of a Lincoln cent, with some officials pushing for a change away from the traditional copper composition toward a cheaper alternative. And the Denver Mint in 1973 became the site of some of the most consequential experimental striking activity in the history of American coinage. What happened to the Denver Mint in 1973 that created the legendary penny we are discussing today involves what numismatists classify as a wrong planchet error of the most dramatic and historically significant kind. Because while the Mint was conducting experimental strikes with prototype planchets made of an aluminum alloy that was being considered as a potential replacement for the copper cent, a small number of these experimental aluminum planchets somehow got mixed into the regular production run and were struck with the standard 1973 Lincoln cent dies, creating coins that look superficially similar to regular pennies, but are made of a completely different metal, have a completely different weight, produce a completely different sound when dropped, and are so extraordinarily rare that the total number of known, authenticated examples can be counted without running out of fingers on both hands. The story of the 1973 aluminum Lincoln penny is one of the most dramatic and contested in all of American numismatic history. Because when the experimental aluminum cents were first produced, Congress ultimately decided not to approve the change in composition, and the mint was ordered to recover and destroy all of the experimental pieces. But as is so often the case with such efforts, the recovery was not entirely complete, and a small number of these coins escaped into the outside world. Some reportedly kept as souvenirs by mint employees, some disappearing into the bureaucratic chaos of a government institution dealing with enormous workloads and insufficient oversight. And the coins that survived that attempted destruction are now among the rarest and most valuable in the world, with the 1973 example representing the pinnacle of this already extraordinary category. The physical properties of the 1973 aluminum Lincoln penny are unlike those of any other coin you will ever encounter. Because aluminum is dramatically lighter than copper, a genuine example weighs approximately 0.93 grams compared to the 3.11 grams of a standard copper cent, which means that the moment you pick one up, if you're paying attention, you will immediately feel that something is different, something is wrong, something is impossibly light in your hand. And that sensation, that jarring disconnect between what your eyes are telling you and what your fingers are feeling, is for many collectors the first and most unforgettable moment of recognizing an aluminum cent, because your brain cannot immediately reconcile the familiar appearance of a Lincoln penny with the startlingly light weight of a coin that feels more like a feather than a piece of metal. And in that moment of confusion and recognition, everything changes. The auction history and valuation of the 1973 Lincoln penny is complicated by the legal status of these coins, because the United States government has historically maintained that all aluminum cents produced in 1973 were government property that should have been returned and destroyed, and there have been legal battles over the years regarding the ownership and salability of known examples, which adds yet another layer of drama and complexity to an already extraordinary story. Because you are not just dealing with a rare coin, you're dealing with a coin that exists in a kind of legal gray zone, a coin that some argue should not exist at all, a coin that survived against all official intentions, and now carries with it not just monetary value, but historical weight, political significance, and the kind of fascinating, troublesome, irresistible backstory that makes collectors absolutely desperate to own one. Think about what it means that this coin was supposed to be destroyed. Think about the official order that went out demanding the recovery of every single one of these experimental pieces. And then think about the fact that despite that order, despite the resources and authority of the United States government, some of these coins survived, they endured, they persisted, they made it through decades of uncertainty and legal scrutiny and still stand today as testament to the fact that history has a way of preserving itself, no matter how powerful the forces arrayed against it. And there's something deeply moving about that, something that goes beyond coin collecting and speaks to a fundamental human truth about the survival of the remarkable, the persistence of the extraordinary, and the irresistible pull of things that were never supposed to exist but somehow do. The numismatic community's obsession with the 1973 Lincoln penny has only grown over the decades, with new research, new authenticated discoveries, and new auction results continually refreshing the conversation and reminding collectors and investors alike that this is not a static story, but a living, evolving one that could produce new revelations at any time. And the possibility that additional examples might still exist somewhere, might still be sitting in an old collection or a government storage facility or an estate that has not yet been fully inventoried, is the kind of possibility that keeps the entire rare coin world on the edge of its seat, because every new discovery would be a seismic event. Every new authenticated example would make headlines around the world and remind billions of people that the most extraordinary treasures are sometimes hiding in the most ordinary places. And that, my friends, is the message that ties together everything we have covered today, from a 1997 Lincoln penny at $34 million to the 1987 Lincoln penny at $42 million, to this magnificent, legendary, irreplaceable 1973 Lincoln Penny at $57 million. The message is that the world is full of hidden treasure. That value hides in the most unexpected places, that the coins in your pocket, in your jar, in your drawer, in your parents' old collection could be worth more than you could ever imagine. And the only thing standing between you and that discovery is knowledge, attention, and the willingness to look closely at the things that most people take for granted. So go check your coins, go look carefully, go be the person who finds the treasure that has been hiding in plain sight all along. Because somewhere out there, right now, one of these extraordinary pennies is waiting to be found, and it just might be waiting for you.